As long as the capitalist mode of production continues to exist, it is folly for an isolated solution to the housing question, or of any other social question affecting the fate of workers. By Friedrich Engels. Capitalism is the cause of homelessness. Gus Begek has stated, "There is no bigger criticism of capitalism than its incapacity to provide suitable housing for people who earn its riches, the working class." In an essay published on December 3, 2017, in the online publication Truthout, a community's sense of security, identity, emotional health, and leisure all depend on having a place to live. From the industrial era to the present, the dread of homelessness has contributed to capitalism's ability to hold onto power. An analysis of capitalism reveals that housing policies, which purport to maintain national stability, but in reality encourage the accumulation of profits in the hands of private corporations, are employed by governments that are subject to strong corporate lobbying. Begek has presented a comparison between a wealthy capitalistic culture and a society founded on socialism, which ensures the right to shelter, and contrasted the high rate of homelessness in the United States with that of Cuba, where it is not a major issue. Capitalism follows the money, even in the United States. Take Detroit as an example, which was the global heart of the automobile industry in the 1960s and 1970s, before moving to Silicon Valley, one of the emerging economic powerhouses. In the heyday of Detroit's prosperity, American leaders would gladly host foreign dignitaries to showcase the achievements of capitalism. Later, Silicon Valley, brimming with opportunities for profit, emulated Detroit's model. The number of homeless individuals worldwide, and the reasons why. According to data from the UN, there are around 1.6 billion people living in substandard housing globally, and an additional 15 million are evicted via force every year. Being destitute is not a given just because you live in a wealthy nation with a strong economy. However, the dearth of trustworthy statistics makes it difficult to measure homelessness accurately. People lose their homes as a result of conflicts and must find new places to live, while families are left without a roof over their heads when natural disasters demolish dwellings. Another significant contributing factor is the lack of affordable housing, as some individuals cannot afford their rent or mortgage because they are unemployed. Others work, but because local housing costs are rising, they do not make enough money to pay their rent. Nearly every nation on the planet has a homeless population, with the exception of Iceland, Finland, and Japan, which have the lowest rates. With 1/3 of its 22 million people homeless, Syria is the country with the largest number of homeless people worldwide. Syria is ravaged by war. 90% of the population lives in poverty as a result of the war, and the country's schools, clinics, hospitals, and water and sewage systems have all been damaged. The largest number of homeless persons in Africa are found in Nigeria, which has a population of approximately 214 million and around 24.4 million homeless people, and Egypt, which has a population of 111 million and 12 million homeless people. With 1.2 billion people, India has the largest population in the world. Of these, 88 million live in poverty and are homeless, whereas Pakistan has 240 million people and about 20 million homeless people. There are 4.9 million homeless people in Colombia, a country in South America, and 1 million homeless people in Honduras, a country in North America, with a population of 10.3 million. The United States homelessness epidemic. In nearly every American metropolis, homeless people can be seen sleeping on park benches, the bare ground, or street corners. They also frequently find other places to sleep. With 340 million people, the United States has the third highest population in the world. However, it has the second highest number of homeless people in North America, with 582,000 or 18 per 10,000 people nationwide. However, the rates in each of its states vary greatly. States in the U.S. have different rates of homelessness. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, reports that out of all 50 states, California, Vermont, and Oregon have the highest rates of homelessness overall, 44 per 10,000 people. However, Mississippi, which has a population of 2.95 million, has 1,100 homeless individuals, the lowest rate at 4.1 per 10,000 people, while Washington, D.C., which has a population of only approximately 713,000, has the highest rate at 65.6 per 10,000 people. With 171,000 homeless persons, California has the highest population of any state, 17.3 million. New York, with a population of 19 million, comes in second, with 91,000 homeless people, while Florida, with a population of 22.2 million, comes in third with 25,000 homeless people. Vermont has a population of 647,000 and 3,295 homeless people, while Oregon has a population of 4.2 million. 42 million African Americans make about 13% of the country's total population, but they also account for 37% of homelessness and more than 49% of homeless families with children. The largest percentage of homelessness in the United States, at 121 per 10,000 persons, is found among around 700,000 Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. This is partly because there is a dearth of reasonably priced housing. Published on June 20, 2023, is the largest representative study on homelessness, supported by the University of California, San Francisco's Benioff Homelessness and Housing Initiative. The University of California, San Francisco's Benioff Homelessness and Housing Initiative began a comprehensive research in the mid-1990s. The time co-chairs Mark and Lynn Benioff provided funding for the initiative, which aimed to examine the causes and effects of homelessness in California and suggest legislative reforms for the state to implement the required initiatives. In order to better understand the time leading up to homelessness, the study questioned a representative sample over 3,200 homeless individuals from around the state about their pre-homelessness circumstances and what could have prevented them from ending up in that situation. At the time of the study, the median duration of homelessness was almost 2 years. According to the report, the majority of Black people and Native Americans were overrepresented in the state's homeless population, which was aging with 47% of all persons 50 years of age or older. In contrast to the popular belief that homeless people migrate, the majority were from California. 90% of them had lost their housing there. 75% of them continued to reside in the same county, and 90% of them had been living in shelters since they were homeless. The findings demonstrated that people don't become homeless overnight. Instead, they must pass through a number of obstacles with few ladders and many of chutes in order to stay out of house. The study, which was conducted in a state where half of the country's unsheltered population and 30% of its homeless population reside, was released on June 20, 2023, and it was featured in the July 24, 2023 issue of Time. The study's lead author, Margaret Kushel, MD, a professor of medicine at the university, claimed that homelessness exists in a doom loop. The study's findings validate that an excessive number of Californians face homelessness due to inability to pay for housing, she stated. The study's conclusions, which were derived from hundreds of in-depth interviews and thousands of survey replies, illustrate the enormous personal cost associated with homelessness. Dr. Kushel stated, "Our policy recommendations are intended to inform solutions to the homelessness crisis. When a person's income is insufficient to pay for their living expenditures, they lose their residences, which makes it more difficult for them to maintain employment. 64% of participants did not seek assistance, and 49% did not have their name on a lease or mortgage due to their housing circumstances." The study's most startling finding was how little participants believed it would take to aid the homeless. Majority estimated that less than $500 per month or a $10,000 one-time donation would have maintained them in a place. Although Dr. Kushel cautioned that the majority of study participants suffered from anxiety and depression, and the findings indicated that the lack of resources most likely exacerbated those conditions rather than the illness causing homelessness. The majority of those who experience homelessness suffer from mental illness and substance abuse. Deep poverty is the driving issue, she said in her conclusion. The research made the following 6 important policy recommendations for the state of California. Provide more housing that is cheap for renters with the lowest incomes, prolong rental subsidies, and make it easier for households earning less than 30% of the area median income to acquire affordable housing. Increase focused efforts to avoid homelessness by providing monetary and legal support. Staff permanent supportive housing and expand access to low-barrier mental health services to better meet the population's behavioral health requirements during periods of homelessness. Raise family incomes with the use of evidence-based policies. Expand your outreach and provide more services to those who are homeless without a shelter. Include a racial equity perspective in all service delivery facets of the homeless system. Subscribe to us now for more amazing videos like this. Thanks for watching.